Welcome into Action Sports Jax Prime Time, and much like the Jacksonville Jaguars here on our show, we've decided to give the veterans the week off. Dan Hicken and Brent Martineau getting a Sunday to relax. Stuart Weber here to guide you through these next 30 minutes and apparently speak in the third person. Mandatory minicamp, well, sort of, for the first time at least that I can remember. Head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars giving the veterans a week off for mandatory minicamp. The big reason why? Well, voluntary OTAs were a near full house when it comes to attendance and apparently comprehension, because Doug Pederson's a very happy man with the progress made by this roster over the last few weeks.
It's all based on what they've done. I've done this kind of thing in the past, but at the same time, I wanted to see this group work together. It wasn't final until within the last week or so for me. And again, these guys have worked extremely hard. They've earned it. They deserve it. And, we got done as a staff what we needed to get done, and we'll get ready for camp.
And so this mandatory minicamp now essentially turns into an extension of the rookie minicamp that we saw back in May. So short little 30-minute practice sessions are scheduled for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at the bank. After that, it's a month and a half off before the team reconvenes for training camp July 24th. Remember, Jags and Raiders starting the preseason a week early in Canton, so they will be starting training camp a week early as well. But before the team goes their separate ways, we had a chance to chat with Jaguars assistants this week. Marcel Robinson joining us now for more on those conversations.
But what we talk about as coaches is being tough, hard-nosed, smart football players that love to go out there and play the game.
Oh, questions still remain as far as what the personality and the style of this defense will be for this Jaguars team. I don't know about you, but I know what I want them to be: effective. Another year, another new defense that we hope will at least vaguely resemble the defense in 2017. Granted, that's asking a lot, but a step in that direction would certainly be welcome. Enter Mike Caldwell. The Jaguars defensive coordinator is tasked with building a defense to stop the bleeding of a defense that allowed nearly 30 points per game. So many questions remain. Are we running a four-man front, a three-man front? How many plays will the nickel cornerback be on the field? The specific personality and style of the defense may be unknown to us, but putting the individual players in position to win, that's the goal.
It's not what I need them to do. We're going to let them do what they do best. We'll kind of mold the defense and mold the scheme around what our players can do. And we're in the process of doing that, and that's one of the things that have a great coaching staff, and they're teachers, so they're able to teach what we want to get done. And again, that's the molding part of it.
It's not a bad plan in terms of finding a foundation. The more familiar each guy is with their individual assignment, the faster they can play without thinking too much. Let's dive in a little bit and talk about some of the key players that will greatly impact this defense's success. First up, Josh Allen, 7.5 sacks last year, just 3 less than his career high during his rookie year. Time for him to take another step and stay consistent. I like Josh to take a step on the field, but also in terms of being a leader in that defensive line room. Next up is a newcomer. Foye Oluokun signed on in free agency, and he was a tackling machine with Atlanta. He led the entire league in tackles last season, and coaches say that he's a candidate to wear the green dot. He's smart and violent at the point of attack, just what we need at the linebacker position. Entering his second year, Tyson Campbell. The cornerback really came on late in the year a season ago. Both of his interceptions came in the second half of the year, and he made some standout plays that may not brighten up the stat sheet, one being a tackle for loss against the Colts, where he beat running back Jonathan Taylor to the edge and pushed him out of bounds. That helped limit the Colts to a field goal instead of a touchdown. More impact plays like that will be needed for the secondary to make their mark. And finally, of course, the #1 overall pick, Trayvon Walker, will be the focus of so many when the defense takes the field. The former Georgia Bulldog continues to receive rave reviews from this coaching staff.
Think about the size, his height, his weight, his speed. It's like a unicorn. He's unique, and he plays that way, and you see it on tape. We're excited about him, man. I think he'll be ready to roll.
One thing I knew about Trayvon was, dang, this guy plays hard. This guy plays really hard, like what we call, he comes out of those stacks like his hair's on fire. When you have that trait, that's a built-in, that's a DNA deal. As a coach, you're fired up.
And let's be honest, building a defense is no easy feat. Frankly, building an entire team is a challenge in itself. But if the pieces that the Jaguars have can come together and make a solid puzzle, the turnaround that we've all been waiting for, may be starting to take that curve. Let's go back to you.
Thank you, Marcel. Remember, you can follow along with all of Marcel's hijinks on the Twitters. Go follow him at Marcel AS is the place to do just that.
No, I just know you only good at football. I could just tell you only good at football. But I'm like that.
Bust out the Cisco cam. Jaguar safety Andre Cisco, a guy fans should get to know a little more. Everyone clamored for him to be on the field more as a rookie, and it looks like that's going to be the case this upcoming fall. We wanted you to catch up with him, so we caught up with him for you this week to talk about his playing style and what to expect in season number 2 for number 38.
You feel like a different guy, different player, a veteran? What's it like for you?
Definitely could feel time catching up. Just being around guys and know how to do it, and just taking a little bit of their habits and applying it to my life. And it's just really an approach that I feel like I've changed from last year to this year, and it makes a big difference. It does.
People talk about that a lot. Like I think we don't, on the outside, we underplay it maybe, like learning to be a pro, right? I mean, there's something to that.
Mm-hmm. It's a mindset, like just not trying to control everything. When it's your job versus you being a student athlete, it's just there's a shift that you have to move towards, and it takes time. So I'm glad I'm here now, though.
And you're getting a different kind of tutelage too from other peers that have played in the league for a while, a different level of ball. Obviously, coaching staff's 2 of them now that you've worked with. How much of a better player does that make you? Do you feel that yet? Do you know that yet, considering you haven't really gone into year 2?
Yeah, I appreciate the different perspectives for sure. So working with one whole coaching staff, getting insight from them, and then getting the second one where they come from a place of recent Super Bowls and things like that. So getting those 2 perspectives is giving me like a jump almost on instead of being on the team where it's like you get one coaching staff and they give you feedback one type of way. So from year 1 to year 2, I'm fortunate.
You played a little bit last year, but I don't feel like, as a guy who watches this team all the time, we really saw Andre Cisco much. Like, I don't have a good feel for your game yet. Do you feel like people don't know who you are yet? I mean, even your teammates maybe, they haven't really seen the real you?
Yeah, I agree. I think, going from ACL to a year like last year, basically been 2 years for me since I've really been able to end the year and been like, everybody know. So I'm going into this year like super excited and just ready to let it unleash. It's been a long time coming now.
Yet I feel like there's some responsibility on you to hold that spot down. I mean, do you feel like you're the guy there that's going to be a part of this defense that has really been revamped?
Yeah, I think I'll definitely be a piece of this defense that's going to be productive and make a big difference and make plays on Sundays.
From the look of the defense, is it a lot different from your position, given the 2 different schemes of the last couple years?
I mean, there's tendencies that's different, but that's on a coaching staff standpoint. But overall, at the NFL level, there's a lot of things that are consistent from defense to defense, and even when you're playing the offenses. So that's my main thing I'm trying to learn is just, the intricacies of the league.
Were you surprised you didn't get on the field more last year once you were healthy? I mean, once the knee checked out and you were good to go? I know that was a little bit of a narrative for us on hey, we want to see this guy, Were you a little bit surprised?
I mean, week to week, I was like everything was different. So, game plan, all those things kind of varied on my expectations and what to expect on Sunday. So the coaches, we were transparent between each other, and so I knew what to expect for the most part.
All right, the book on you is your ball hawk guy. I feel like this defense can use that. Not a lot of turnovers last year. How much do you kind of embody and live that narrative of what people think you are and what you were in college?
Yeah, that's kind of what I built my game around, just trying to go get the ball. Reading the quarterback is where I live at. That's kind of where I've thrived from my college career to now, and so I plan on doing the same thing coming up this year.
I was thinking of this, though. You have to be a little bit careful sometimes. You're the last line of defense, right? Is that a delicate balance for you to, hey, I want to take chances, go get the ball because turnovers are king, but I also don't want to give up that big play?
Yeah, honestly, as long as you and the coach are on the same page, they might be okay with that. You know what I mean? Taking a chance every now and then. If you make it 50% of the time, that's a pretty high probability, so I'll take my chances.
You are in kind of a cool spot. You get to see the defense, everything in front of you. What's this one look like in the early stages with all the different, from Trayvon Walker to Lloyd to the additions? What does it look like?
Yeah, I'm blessed to be back there. I got guys in front of me that can run, make plays. I've done it before, and so I can rely on them. And understanding when you got that in front of you, I got a lot more freedom in the back end.
Do you think, as a young guy coming in where you're going to play more, can those guys make instant impact, or will it take some time, knowing what you went through last year?
I think there's going to be – everybody's experience is going to be different. I know that for a fact. Just going through it with my rookies last year and myself, there's things that – everybody's gonna, from your school, there's things that, your school might have prepared you for that my school didn't. So I know there's definitely gonna be obstacles and lumps they got to get over, but I'm sure they'll do it fast. Some boys come from good programs.
Yeah. Last one for you. Given the injury, given the lack of playing time last year, how anxious are you for September to roll around?
Extremely. This is like, it's a tease being out here at OTAs. I'm really excited for August 4th. Get started then.
Good stuff catching up with Andre Cisco. Reminder, you can check out a lot of our OTA coverage over the past few weeks. There you see a conversation with Travis Etienne on there. Much more. Of course, check out all our social media channels, including the YouTube page. Just search Action Sports Jacks. It seems pretty easy. With a whole new coaching staff, there's plenty of new faces to learn. Marcel Robinson joins us now to provide that introduction and run down the last week at Jags HQ.
We haven't really dug into a lot of that thing, or a lot of, what went on here in the past. That's not really our concern right now. It's more of, getting what we want to get accomplished today and moving forward with this thing.
Yes, a season that we'd all like to forget that has sparked a new era here in Jacksonville. To be frank, it wasn't very good on or off the field, but there were definitely some bright spots. We're going to focus on the offense today. Let's start with the basics. Just over 200 yards passing per game and barely over the century mark on the ground. Bottom third of the league, but the worst, this one right here, 14.9 points per game. In a league where points are scored at will, some of these numbers need to shift places, maybe 41.9. That being said, as bad as it was at times, this guy right here showed flashes of a very bright future with not much to work with at times. Let's forget about the numbers for a quick second. The 2021 #1 overall pick Trevor Lawrence showed why he was worthy of all of the hype. He made throws that we haven't seen around here in a while, maybe ever. He handled the mess of last season like a true pro, and despite all of the distractions, the shuffling of the offensive line and the roster on the field and frankly on the sidelines, he was still able to stand tall. It was a rocky road into the league, but new coaches think this is a good sign for things moving forward.
And Trevor's done an outstanding job to date. From the very first time we sat down and talked about how we wanted to play the game, what we wanted to do. We mentioned to him about how, our quarterback should be. He's really bought into everything we've asked him to do so far.
I thought it was a good spring for Trevor. It's good to get our hands on him, get to work with him, get to sit in meetings, kind of hear how he sees things, what he likes, what he doesn't like, all those conversations that you don't know until you get out there with them. And it was a great experience, and there was a lot to build on as we go with what we got accomplished this spring.
Like you said, a lot of information being thrown at 16, but all signs point to the reinstallation process running smoothly.
Turned into a Trevor Lawrence sandwich. Ouch. Right in the chops.
Now, on the other side, protecting Trevor will be another task in itself. That's the main goal of a new offensive line that is under construction at this point. One season ago, Trevor Lawrence was sacked 32 times, which was better than 2020 when the Jaguar signal caller was sacked 44 times, but that number needs to keep decreasing. It all begins up front. There were some mixed reviews on the offensive line, but we can all agree that better play is definitely needed. The Jaguars went out and got a proven left guard in Brandon Scherff and drafted Luke Fortner, presumably to eventually replace the spot left by Brandon Linder upon his retirement. We already mentioned the sack count. 32. All of those are not attributed to poor pass protection. Of course not. That's not the deal. That's not what I'm saying. But look right here. The O-line won up front 60% of the time against opposing pass rushers. But it's not just the pass rush. The boys up front need to open up the run lanes for all of these running backs. 2.9 yards before contact. To be honest, that's really not bad. 3 yards is about the distance between the defensive linemen and the second-level linebackers. For comparison purposes, Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts, the league's leading rusher last year, runs behind one of the best offensive lines in the game, 2.6 yards before contact. Like I said, mixed reviews. The consensus remains, though, that the line as a whole needs to play better. The guys in charge of getting them right says it's all about getting the best group on the field.
It's been great competition with those guys, really all those guys. And then you have to have the ability at some point in time to be a swing tackle for us. So, you know, Phil's done a great job mixing those guys, whether it's right tackle, left tackle, coming in a backup role, a starter role, whatever that may be. And those guys have done a great job receiving that.
They know and understand what's about to happen in training camp. It's been communicated with them, and now we'll just see what rises. The best 5 guys have to be working together. You may have every skill imaginable in the world, but if you can't work together, you can't do this for us.
Look, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. It'll be critically important for the entire offense to make sure that link is far from weak. Finally, what about the weapons? DJ Chark, now up in Detroit, but enter Christian Kirk and Zay Jones by way of free agency. So much was made of the Christian Kirk signing around the league, but you know what? If the guy can come in here and produce at a high level, bet. I'm good with the bag that they gave him. Same thing with Zay Jones. Laquan Treadwell earned his extension last year. I could make an argument that he was one of the better receivers this team had on a shuffling roster. Now, the overall performance wasn't exactly spectacular. Way too many drops last year. But I was surprised to see how many plays of 20-plus yards or more this team had. Moving forward, the play of these wide receivers will definitely need to elevate for Trevor and the team's overall success. As we've talked to the offensive coaches, the common theme has been finding out what these guys do best and letting them do just that. Another note, the importance of veteran leadership. That's where that guy, Marvin Jones Jr. comes in. He was the team's leading receiver last season and clearly Trevor's favorite target. Remember that scramble drill against the Colts last year at home? He's the vet, the old head, and the encyclopedia for Marvin's room.
Marvin brings it every single day, and that's what's kind of the fun thing about him. He's always got a smile on his face in the meeting rooms. There's some of those times you see these veterans that ask questions in a meeting room. I would bet you he probably knew the answer to, but he knew that somebody probably needed clarity on that, so he'll ask it on behalf of other people.
If he'll see one of the younger guys, like one of the rookies on film, and we'll watch him film and say, "Coach, pause that," and he'll spend 3-4 minutes explaining what he could do differently from his perspective. So it's good for younger players not only to hear my voice, but one of the leaders in the room give them advice.
All in all, the Jaguars offense was not great as a whole, but the hope is those bright spots from last season become more consistent and the offense puts the fun in functional.
Action Sports Jax Primetime, Saturday at 10:30 on Fox 30.